Have you wondered about ADHD and insomnia? What role they play in terms of one affecting the other? Perhaps you've had questions about the medications used for ADHD and insomnia. Well, today we are going to challenge Ellie. We're going to challenge our AI assistant with a question about ADHD and insomnia and see how well Ellie replies. And then, of course, I'll share my thoughts as well. Let's take a look. So yes, I'm quite curious about today's episode because I've decided to just this is going to be completely unedited. We will see how our friendly Ellie assistant, our AI, is going to reply to a question about ADHD. And for those of you who didn't catch the first ever Learning with Ellie episode, Ellie is a ChatGPT based AI software that I've trained with a spreadsheet of many hundreds of questions, and I don't even remember if I have trained Ellie specifically on ADHD or not. So let's jump in here and ask Ellie a question about ADHD, and then we'll really kind of try to deconstruct the answer in a helpful way, and then I'll share my thoughts as well. So we'll pretend that we have a question here for Ellie. So we're just gonna say like, does ADHD cause insomnia? Let's start with this one, and we might want to do another one too. Let's start with that one and see what happens. So we're going to submit this question, and Ellie says the following. Wow, this is very interesting how Ellie just decided to introduce themselves. Okay, so the answer becomes, Ellie, hi, I'm Ellie, your sleep support chatbot. While I can't provide medical advice, I can offer some information on the topic. ADHD itself doesn't directly cause insomnia. However, individuals with ADHD may experience difficulties with sleep due to various factors related to their condition. Some common reasons why people with ADHD may struggle with sleep include racing thoughts, difficulty winding down at night, restlessness, and trouble maintaining a consistent sleep schedule. Additionally, certain medications used to manage ADHD symptoms can affect sleep patterns. If you're experiencing insomnia or having trouble sleeping due to your ADHD symptoms, it's important to discuss this with healthcare professionals who can provide personalized guidance and support based on your specific situation. Remember that everyone's experience is unique, and what works for one person may not work for another. It's essential to find strategies that work best for you in managing both your ADHD symptoms and improving your sleep quality. There you have it. This became, interestingly, a sort of a little bit more bland and generic answer than we typically get from Ellie. And I think this is because I haven't trained Ellie specifically to answer questions around ADHD. But Ellie is still, still on point when it comes to the following. ADHD itself doesn't directly cause insomnia. And I believe this answer comes from Ellie's understanding of insomnia, because I've trained Ellie so much on, understanding that insomnia is, a self-perpetuating ongoing struggle with sleep that comes from the fear of not sleeping. Now, Ellie also, interestingly, I don't know why Ellie presented themselves, but Ellie also said, I don't provide any medical advice, which of course is always true from my perspective too. No medical advice here. But, to share my thoughts on this, I would say that every human being has a temperament, or let's call it a personality. Some of us are very kind of easy-go-lucky. Some of us are more like type A, on the lookout. Some of us who have that, kind of like the more like type A type personality, we may have more like more of an active mind, because we're kind of more safety oriented. We're like, how about this? How about this? How about that? Right? So my thoughts on this is that naturally some of us will be more, inattentive, if we want to call it that, because we have more of an active mind, and some of us will be more active. And I personally don't know when we ever want to call that a disorder, because as soon as you label something a disorder, it can be scary. It sounds like there's something wrong with me, and I think of it more as, we all fall somewhere along, a spectrum. Now, another thing that can be sort of confusing here, I believe, is that when we are anxious, that can often appear as we have, like, poor attention or that we're hyperactive, because when the human brain is scared, then it will go into like problem solving mode. It will look for a solution. If we're scared, our brain will automatically go like, how about this, how about that, what about this, what about that, right? So when we're scared, we often do not focus because our brain is kind of like really, really trying to troubleshoot, and we may be more active too. We may be doing more things as part of this fear. So fear/anxiety can often look like what we think ADHD looks like. Now, those are just some general themes, general thoughts on ADHD in general. Now, how does that relate to insomnia? Well, I would say actually similar to Ellie here, that there are some factors that can cause some sleep disruption, but not insomnia. If we have been stressed, for example, or if you're thinking a lot about something, that naturally can keep us from sleeping because the brain kind of prioritizes that thought process rather than sleeping. But that has nothing to do with insomnia, because that's just like some sleep disruption or some, sleeping less. We can just call it sleeping less because of, an active brain, if you will. But if we're not afraid of that, then there will be no struggle, right? So, um, again, I think there's a complete like separation in my mind from ADHD and insomnia. And how about, like Ellie did mention, like medications, which was interesting. Um, and I think it's very much the same there, that anything that is stimulating, can of course keep us awake longer than if we didn't take that, like medications for ADHD, for example. But again, that has nothing to do with insomnia. If somebody takes some ADHD medications, they're awake longer than they typically would, and they just think like, oh yeah, of course I'm awake now. It's because of the medication. They will, in all likelihood, fall asleep pretty soon after, because there's no fear of being awake there. On the other hand, somebody who's maybe had some struggle with sleep, and then they've been diagnosed with ADHD, they've been given some medications for this, and they take the medication, and they now, they're awake a bit longer, and they go like, oh no, I'm awake now. Why am I awake? Oh, it's because of the pill. I can't take the pill because then I'm not going to sleep. And now this can cause us to be awake for a long period of time in a kind of unpleasant way, because we're awake and we're scared of being awake. So I think if for somebody out there in the community, if you, for example, have been diagnosed with ADHD and you've had trouble sleeping, I think what we talked about in this episode can be really helpful, because it kind of separates the two, and you see that there's nothing really keeping anyone from having a struggle-free sleep, like not having a battle with sleep or a fight with sleep, regardless of what diagnosis we have or what medications we are on. And I hope that will be really helpful for you to hear and to know. So with that said, again, hope you enjoyed this episode of Learning with Ellie. And if you are, if you're finding your way to where you want to be, that's always, super nice to hear. Do share it in the comments. On the other hand, if things are difficult for you, and you don't maybe know where to start, where to start my journey towards sleeping well for the rest of my life, then do check out our free mini course, Ready to Sleep in 5 Days. It is available now. And you can just head over to our website, thesleepcoachschool.com, and scroll down to, where it says like ready to sleep in 5 days, and sign up for the course, and hope you'll find it really, really helpful. All right, we'll conclude there. Look forward to seeing you real soon. Until then, bye-bye.